As Mr. Magaziner for 5 minutes from Rhode Island.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And first, I just want to join my colleagues from both sides of the aisle earlier who recognized the tremendous legacy of our colleague, Sheila Jackson Lee, who I feel very fortunate to have had even just a year and a half to work with on this committee. She always came prepared. She was diligent. She brought empathy and was a great example to us newer members. So I'm very grateful for her legacy, and I know it will live on for a long time to come. And I also join my colleagues on both sides in condemning the assassination attempt on former President Trump and condemn all acts of violence. Violence is not the answer. Our condolences go out to the family of Corey Comparator and all who were injured and traumatized by what occurred that day. And I think about the children who were at that event and had to witness that. And that is something they will carry with them for the rest of their lives. We don't know the motivation of the shooter at this time, but I remain concerned by the rising tide of political violence and domestic violent extremism in this country, which impacts all of us. This is something that some of us have been talking about a lot in this committee. In 2023, the U.S. Capitol Police investigated more than 8,000 cases of direct threats against members of Congress, a tenfold increase from 2015. And so I ask everyone, take down the rhetoric, remove violent rhetoric from our political discourse. Remember, as President Lincoln said, that we are not enemies but friends, and we have to appeal to the better angels of our nature. And yes, we have to make sure that this never happens again. It is welcome news that the director of the Secret Service has resigned, but if we say that that is enough, then we're not doing our jobs. We need to understand what protocols, policies, resources need to be changed, if any, to make sure this does not happen again. Colonel, I wanted to ask, I imagine the Pennsylvania State Police deals with lots of events like this, right? You have lots of political events, big events, Secret Service protectees who come in and out of Pennsylvania. So can you just help us understand, is it unusual to have such a small perimeter around an outdoor event like this one?
I would say that we routinely, as a matter of course, exercise deference to the Secret Service to set the perimeter for an event like this based on the protectee.
Yeah, I think it's important to note that Pennsylvania is a state where anyone 18 and above can carry a firearm like an AR-15 without a license. It's an open carry state. And so my second question is, outside of that perimeter, were there any controls in place or any, legal tools that you had at your disposal if an individual with a firearm had been spotted, again, within 300, 400 yards of the former president?
I would defer to the Secret Service. I haven't seen their operations plan, sir.
Right, but you as state police and then also the Butler local police who were responsible for areas outside of the perimeter, if this individual had been spotted earlier with a firearm because it is an open carry state, what legal tools would you have had at your disposal?
So we would have responded and attempted to make contact and ascertain what the person was doing there and what their activity was.
Yeah. So a number of us have asked questions about lines of communication, and I think that's important, right? Because to the layperson at home, what we're trying to understand is if this individual was spotted on the roof, as he appears to have been well over a minute before the shooting, did the local officers who spotted him know how to radio into the command center? Was that information relayed? And then was it in turn relayed to the Secret Service? This question has been asked a few different times, but can you tell the public what you know about whether local officers outside the perimeter knew how to radio in a suspected threat, whether there was an individual in the command center who was receiving those calls and communicating them to the Secret Service?
So I do know that Butler County set up a command post on the site itself, along with the Secret Service's command post, but they were not located in the same building. The exact communication between municipal officers and that command post or the county dispatch that they would rely on. The state police have our own statewide dispatching. We can communicate with the dispatching centers telephonically and through electronic means, but we maintain separate dispatching systems, so I would defer to.
The locals, I'm sorry, so the locals were not included in the Secret Service Command Center. The state police was or was not?
The PSP, I can assure you the PSP was in there.
Yeah.
Additional people, I was briefed on one occasion that there was a representative from Butler ESU that was in there. When they were in there and the length is not really a focus at this point of our investigation into the homicide and the attempted 2 homicides, as well as the officer-involved shooting. So that sequence of events has come up pursuant to us investigating that, but I am very remiss to give you a minute-by-minute timeline and what the communications were.
Thank you.